servant. I am your servant. I am your servant.
Yeah, the original voice for Siri was really unpopular with focus groups. Lesterson points out all of the benefits this thing could provide, and Hensel is starting to see how this could be such an economic boon that they could have some real political authority to push back against Earth when it tries to meddle in the colony's affairs, casting a particular glance at the Examiner while he says that. But those concerns fall on deaf ears. Politics are what matters. That's why the major threat the governor's concerned about is Quinn and the rebel forces, rather than the indestructible killing machines that Lesterson wants to wake up. In the face of the evidence against him, Quinn admits that he was the one who called for Earth to send an Examiner, which means he has no reason to either attack him or sabotage communication. It's proof that he's been framed. But Bragan turns that around, says it's just one part of his larger plan to remove the governor so that he could take over. And Hensel is so insecure he buys into it, locks up Quinn, and makes Bragan the new deputy governor. Now he can afford that new chin sharpener he's been saving up for. While that's going on, the Doctor takes matters into his own hands, whipping up a doohickey and pretending to befriend Lesterson so that as he's questioning the Dalek about its scientific knowledge, such as the laws of thermodynamics, the Doctor can try to deal with this threat permanently.
Is equivalent to the quantity of the other kind of energy.
I'm sorry, but you didn't phrase your answer in the form of a question. Janley is called away for a secret meeting. She's in cahoots with Bragan, who is plotting to take over the colony himself. She's not actually on the side of the rebels. She's just infiltrated their ranks and directed them to further her and Bragan's cause. It's a good but dangerous position to be in. He's manipulating several different sides, but needs to be careful that he can seize control without any of them turning against him next. The Examiner is the wild card, so Bragan and Janley arrange for the rebels to kidnap Polly in order to keep him in check. Only the Doctor doesn't seem to realize what's happened, even when Ben drags them out to go report her missing. All the Doctor notices is that Lesterson is out of his lab, and so now is his chance to slip in there. Only while Lesterson was gone, the Dalek had been messing with the controls and used that to wake up two of its friends. Its two armed friends. The Doctor and Ben run off to tell the governor, only Lesterson's already there asking for supplies, and both of them brush off the concerns. As far as they're concerned, the more Daleks, the better. The first and last time anyone has ever said that. But Bragan comes by soon after to confront the Doctor over the body in the mercury swamp. Well, I mean the real Examiner. Lord knows there's enough bodies out there, it's hard to keep track of which is which. In their discussion, both can finally come out and admit that the Doctor is the imposter and Bragan is the murderer. But it's not safe at the moment for either one to make a move. It could wind up blowing up in their face. So they'll just have to stay out of each other's way for now. But one thing Bragan is insistent upon is that the Doctor leave Lesterson and the Daleks alone. He has plans for them. Not long after he leaves, the rebels slip a note under the door telling the Doctor that if he wants to be certain that Polly is safe, to leave the Daleks alone. There are all these different factions here, and all of them see the Daleks as a means of achieving their own ends, which is blinding them to the actual threat that they represent. In fact, surprisingly, the only one who is starting to get nervous around them is Lesterson himself.
We will get our power. We will get our power. We will get our power.
In the face of the creepy chant of creepiness, Lesterson turns down the power so that the Daleks are helpless, a reminder that he's in control. Although the first seeds have been planted for his uncertainty as to whether or not he did the right thing awakening them. Getting back to the animation for a second, it's clear that they really could have probably used another 2 weeks or even a month to polish up some things. There's more than a few times throughout where we have borderline Terrence and Phillips stuff going on, and one scene in particular of Ben having those off-screen disembodied arms that, they don't really look like they're attached to his body, likely the result of having to rush through to meet the deadline. But leaving that aside, some of it looks really good, like this transition here from the Dalek and its sinister comments to the governor's office. Not only a nice visual transfer from scene to scene, but the movement allows the sinister nature of this faceless enemy to shine through. Briggen has been settling into his position nicely, already making himself a nice little dictatorial outfit, while the governor is out touring the outskirts of the colony, keeping morale up, inspiring the populace, all that crap. And Briggen is brushing off the concern about Paulie and the Daleks as usual. After all, he's making use of both of them. Speaking of the rebels, Janley has put up a notice that has a simple code to let the other members of the rebellion know where their next meeting is. There's a little red dwarf Easter egg in here. The notice is about milk rations and is letting people know that if they run out, they have a backup supply of dog's milk. The idea that the Daleks are actually vacuum cleaners makes a lot more sense when you cast it through the red dwarf filter, doesn't it? As the Doctor and Ben are returning from Briggen's office, they're passed by 3 Daleks. However, the one is still in Briggen's office that was delivering him some water, so where did the 4th one come from? The answer might be the long list of materials that they're asking for from Lesterson, who's growing more and more concerned as they're plowing through resources. Not concerned about running out, but what they might be doing with them all. He wants to talk to the Examiner and discuss whether these might be a real threat that needs to be destroyed, so Janley pulls out the blackmail card. And while he's flummoxed over that problem, the Doctor and Ben show up asking if he's building Daleks because they've seen 4 of them running around, and that given the right materials that they are able to reproduce. This day is really crushing Lesterson's good mood. Next through that door will probably be a messenger with a note saying that he's got omni-cancer, and it's written on the back of his audit notice from the IRS. The Doctor's comments are flustering Lesterson, so she lies to the guards, saying that the Examiner attacked Lesterson so that they'll be thrown out and that conversation will be cut short. Then she sedates Lesterson so they can go on with meeting the Daleks' demands without his interference. Demands that involve laying a new power cable. Given that power is the only thing that Lesterson has to hold over the Daleks, well, Janley is removing the only leash that he has. But again, all Janley can see is a tool to be used in the rebels and or Briggen's cause. In fact, the reason for this meeting is to show off the Daleks to the rebels, who were unaware that the Doctor and Ben deciphered their message and are hiding in there, hoping to find out what happened with Paulie. Vollmer has rigged up something to enable or disable the Dalek guns to ensure that they can't be used against their own people, and gives a demonstration by destroying a piece of tungsten steel. At which the rebels freak the hell out. They don't care what Vollmer says. If the thing can kill the governor's people, it might kill theirs too. But after Janley has tested it on herself to prove that they can stop the Dalek from shooting their people, they seem to grudgingly go along with it. So the matter turns to Paulie. Unfortunately, the Doctor and Ben give themselves away, so Ben rushes out so that they'll think he was alone back there. But as the rebels rush away, the mysterious man in the dark, Briggen, remains, knowing that the Doctor's there too and has him arrested. He's decided that it's time to reveal that the Doctor is an imposter, although the Dalek almost makes the point moot because Briggen can barely stop it from killing the Doctor. Lucky thing the rebels weren't there to see that. Wouldn't have filled them with much confidence to know they're fighting alongside something that they can barely control, like going into battle alongside a 4-year-old with a Tommy gun. When Lesterson comes to, he spots the Daleks talking and concludes that the Examiner was right all along. They're evil and must be stopped, especially because he sees right before his eyes that they must be reproducing. So he slips inside the Dalek ship and discovers the news is even worse. But then again, it has to be. All the news is always worse for Lesterson. What he finds out is that they're not reproducing, they're mass-producing.
Like the animation thing I talked about, you're just going to have to take my word for it on this part too.
This, I'll admit, is probably the scene that I've been waiting to see the most, as we've had some clips of it, and we've had the telesnaps, but it's just been a teasing glimpse of what is happening. The realization of this and animation gives it all the implied terror that it should, combining the terrors of a Nazi assembly line with Frankenstein's laboratory. Daleks grown in chemical vats, chassis after chassis rolling off the line, a wall covered in Dalek guns. All in all, the kind of thing that would give your sphincter a heart attack. You know, I've waited my whole life to witness this, and now that I've seen it, the only thing that comes to mind when I look at it is too many Pinkie Pies.